After going winless in 2008, Matt Kenseth is unbeaten in 2009. Quite a turnaround. I'm sure he's happy about it. I am happy you are here. I'm Lauren Shehadi. At Daytona, the skies opened up and that number 17 Roush Ford happened to be in the lead. Well, a week after Mother Nature might have helped Matt Kenseth win the Great American Race, he didn't need any of it. He held off four-time Cup champion Jeff Gordon down the stretch to win the Auto Club 500, making him, you guessed it, 2 for 2, undefeated. Also undefeated, our NASCAR expert, Pete Pistone. Pete, was Matt Kenseth's win in Fontana even more satisfying as a way to kind of shoot back at critics who didn't believe he earned the win in last week's rain-shortened Daytona 500?
Well, I think that Matt wanted to prove that he did indeed earn that Daytona 500 win. And, going out there to Fontana where that Roush Fenway team has been so strong over the years, Lauren, I'm sure he was looking forward to it. And as you pointed out, I think the 500, obviously the biggest win of his career, but he said it himself. This win may be even more satisfying for the other reason being these are the kind of racetracks that you have to win on because that makes up the bulk of the schedule. And if he's going to win a championship, he's going to have to win on intermediate tracks like he did in Fontana.
Absolutely, Pete. He silenced his critics. It's now 5 straight in the February Auto Club Speedway race for Roush Fenway Racing. How important is it to win at this track in terms of how it will affect the entire season, Pete?
Well, it really has a bigger effect than I think a lot of people realize. As I said, it's a 2-mile track. There are not that many 2-mile tracks, but there are a lot of these intermediate-sized tracks. And if you can run well on those racetracks, it's proved that you can win a championship or at least compete for a championship. Carl Edwards, who's Matt Kenseth's teammate, won 9 times last year, the bulk of them on these intermediate-sized tracks. He wound up 69 points behind Jimmy Johnson, so came up a little bit short. But I think if Kenseth can continue to do what he's done here on tracks like Fontana, he will definitely be a contender to win a second championship in 2009.
Pete, I mentioned Jeff Gordon. He was right behind Kenseth Sunday night, couldn't close the gap in the final laps. However, after his first 2 races of the season, which Jeff Gordon are we seeing? The title contender or the struggling, if you will, struggling for him, driver that we saw in 2008?
I think he's definitely a title contender. I mean, boy, you rewind to last year. Yeah, he made the chase, as you said, but he was lost at the first half of the year. I remember listening to his radio chatter between he and his crew chief, Steve Letarte, many times, and they could not figure out that new Sprint Cup car. Fast forward to this year, he wins his duel in Daytona. He runs pretty well in the 500, except for those tire problems, and puts on a great run on Sunday in Fontana. So I think Jeff Gordon, if anybody has written him off, I think you're making a big mistake. I think he's going to be in the hunt for that 5th championship this year.
Do not write him off, Pete Pistone says. Gordon and his teammate Jimmy Johnson had top 10 finishes, but the other 2 Hendrick drivers, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they had engine problems. Isn't that pretty rare for Hendrick, Pete? Do you see this as a potential issue this season?
It's very rare, and I can tell you that back at their shop in Mooresville, North Carolina, they are crunching the numbers right now to figure out what happened to Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr., and actually Jimmy Johnson had a little bit of an engine problem as well, but was able to work through it for that top 10 finish. And if you're Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman, you're also a little nervous because you get your motors from Hendrick Motorsports. So, yeah, it's rare, and that is something that they cannot have happen for the simple reason, as we said, there are so many of similar kind of racetracks on the schedule like Fontana, and Hendrick cannot afford to have those kind of engine woes here for the rest of the season.
Pete, it's very exciting, very early. Thank you for your time.
Talk to you next week, Lauren.
Sounds good. Everything NASCAR right here on the site. We'll see you soon.